Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey rockers, today we've got another band creating rock and roll music that deserves to be heard for you to get familiar with. Please welcome our guest today, J.Ferron, or Ferron, except I can't roll my R's, from the band Skull Riot. How you doing, Jay?
Hey, Ralph. Thanks so much for having me. I'm great. Excited to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I recently got turned on to your EP, and we did feature one track so far on our weekly music show. And I was looking forward to talking with you because you definitely are kind of unique. You're, to me, a metal band. I guess I can hear a little punk in there too. Kind of reminds me of the very early 80s when Metallica and Megadeth and bands like that were first coming out. But what makes you unique, you're metal. And of course, what does metal usually mean? Dual guitars.
Yeah.
You're a duo. There's a dual there, but it doesn't reflect electric lead guitars.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very interesting to me that you're a rhythm section duo, but yet you're kind of playing lead bass. So I'd love to get the story of Skull Riot. So what could you tell us about the band? How'd you come together and how long you've been at it and why a two-piece?
Well, to keep it kind of short, because it might be a little long story, but during the pandemic, like it was this time where everyone was kind of like down and like had a lot of time for themselves. It kind of crazy with work. There was nothing else to do. It was work, come back here, stay shut down, and then go back to work, but there were some few days at the very beginning of the pandemic where like we couldn't do anything but stay inside, and at that time obviously every other project that I had stopped and I couldn't play with anyone or whatever, and I kind of needed something for myself at this point in life, and I've been playing with this idea of like a band of my own again, and trying it one last time and see if something comes out. But I needed to come out with something really original and really, really cool that I would like, not that I would do it just for myself and not for other people or what I think would be cool for other people to listen to or what I thought the market needed or something. It was going to be something completely for me in that regard. And since I was by myself most of the time, I felt like, okay, let me go back and see what I can do with just me and my bass. And I came back to rediscover a band called Royal Blood, who is also bass and drums, and they were crushing it. And I was very inspired by them. And I was like, you know what, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can just give it a twist and do my own thing. And I started, researching him and what doing in order to get the sound going and all of that. And once I kind of like figured it out, I was like, okay, maybe I can do a spin of this and take it away from what they're doing, because they're already kind of alternative rock, but they're not as heavy or as fast. So I wanted to bring my side of it with a little bit more of a punch and a more raw aesthetics, and back to what we were talking a minute ago, keeping it real and honest and as live as possible. Because what I really like from music and from a band is seeing them play live. I love listening to albums and I love the production. I can get really deep into all of that, but when I see a band live, that's when they get me for life. If they're really good and they hit it, like I'm there forever. So I've always been searching for that. And in this project, I want the album or the recordings reflect what we do live. So that was the whole story behind how I started.
You're freezing
as
up
a duo.
there, Jay. Oh, you're back. You're
so that's
a little bit.
It's cold here in LA now. It's not.
No, I mean the
no, I know.
Yeah, freezing on you.
So that's how I started the whole duo concept. and how I wanted to go more like metal oriented or punk oriented rather than just heavy rock. And yeah, I was listening to a lot of like the early thrash, as you said, like Metallica, Testament, Megadeth, Slayer, the big four, you know. Uh, I was I was listening to a lot of like the new kind of prog rock, heavy metal, like Mastodon and stuff like that. That really got me inspired into like I need to make riffs that are cool to keep the music going and keep it interesting for the listener, and not only the bass follows the guitar lead all the time, you know. So it
Right.
doesn't feel like that, and that's a challenge really in this concept, which I love. I love the
It's gonna be a
challenge
big
of
challenge because you're singing too.
yeah. And I've never been a great singer. I've never been like confident enough of being just the front man. And but for this project, I was like, you know what, just F it. Yes, I'm just gonna see what happens. And if
Oh, we lost you again, buddy. You're completely frozen. Oh, you're coming back, I
oh
think.
shit.
Yeah. I don't know. You must not have stable internet connection today.
Oh my God. Is that better?
You're in right now. We're good. But yeah, we
Okay.
lost you. Uh-oh. Now we lost you again. Okay, you're back. You're back.
Oh God, this is gonna be a nightmare if it goes like this. All
Yeah,
right.
let's go yell
I'll
at
keep
your
it
internet
short.
provider.
I hate it, man. I've tried to change like different times, and they were like, "Oh, we don't have any other provider in your area." I'm like, "Are
Yeah,
you
that can
kidding
be
me?
tough. Yeah, that can be tough. I know. We only
Or
have
can I
one
get more
where I'm at.
speed?"
We only have
That's
where
the
I'm
only.
at too, but it's fiber, thank goodness. So it's pretty good.
It's awful. It's awful. I want to move just because of that. Yeah.
I hear you. We
Anyways,
left off with
that's the
you were
story. Yeah.
saying you just said, "Oh, screw it," and then that's kind of where we lost you.
I say, screw it. I'm just gonna sing as best as I can. If I can't sing, I'm just gonna scream. So I ended up screaming, and that's it. That's the project, and that's what you get.
Well, you mentioned, that you started this during COVID and you were spending a lot of time by yourself. So Sam Epstein's your drummer. How did you guys connect then?
I went through like different drummers before finding him. Honestly, I went through like probably six drummers. Um, and actually, the EP is recorded by another. Like three of the songs are recorded by another drummer that I had at the beginning. Then he had to leave, go back to Brazil, and then come back. When he came back to Florida, and it took a minute to come back to LA. And I was like, you know what, dude, like I can't wait for you. Let me search for somebody else. And thank God I found Sam, uh, and we hit it off like right away. He came to the rehearsal and he learned the songs, and I was like, dude, you're freaking good. Like, are you interested? Let's get it. Let's go. And he was down, and it was just instant connection. You know, it was one of those chemistry that you really need like this, and I was hoping for something like that. Um, it just took me a minute to get to him, but I'm so happy that he's on board, and he's such a great player, powerful guy behind the drums, um, a great human being. You know, like sometimes you go into problems with drummers or any musician that can be like a little snobby or like a little bit stuck up or whatever, and they're good, but thank God, like I'd rather have a great human being than an amazing technical guy behind the drums. Uh, but he brought that powerful energy and raw energy as well, which fitted perfectly with the project.
Mhm.
So with Sam on, we decided to start playing, and we started playing March of this year. We
Nice.
haven't been
Really
playing
new.
for a long time. Yeah. It's very new. Um, I've had the project since the pandemic. Like I tell you, I have like probably like 40 songs ready, but we I just couldn't play live with anyone.
Right. Right. So this EP, Too Little, Too Late, is the first release, right? For Skull
Yeah,
Riot? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We
Okay.
had 3 singles from that EP back in February. We started with Blood and Crows. We introduced
You
the
have a
band with
video
that
for
one.
that too.
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple of videos actually. One that I did with AI, and another one that a great friend of mine helped me do um, back in February, which is also very fun, very cool to watch. Um, and then we did Same Old as a second release. Now with Sam on board, he's in the video as well. And our third release was Chasing Lights. Um, for Chasing Lights, we wanted to have a video as well, but our my idea for the video was a bit too much for my budget. So we decided like let's postpone it. Let's figure out the next TP, and maybe with the release of the next TP and the first single, we'll put out the video for Chasing Lights just as a gap and a bridge, as a bridge to fill in that gap from
Sure.
the last EP to the new EP, and kind of like keep it going. So we're waiting for that to happen. Uh, but yeah, man, we're very excited about this EP. We've had very good feedback. Um, we chose our best 5 songs out of the 10 that we had for the first album, and then we decided to split it in 2 EPs. So this first EP is like part 1. The second EP is almost done. It's gone into mixing right now. It's
Are
gonna
you
be.
doing that? Are you doing the
I
mixing? We
I
didn't talk
recorded.
about your background, what else you do. So seems like that would be something you could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I recorded everything, produced it, and everything. But this time, I don't want to touch much the mix. In the first EP, I touched the mix and then I sent it to somebody to kind of like finish it, and then brought it back and then I touch it and master it. Um, because I had a very specific sound in mind. But this time, I want to open myself up to somebody to take it from the mixing straight up, because I was very, very close to it in the project, and I don't want to do that this time. I want to distance myself and give the chance to somebody else to have fresh ears and bring something to it now that they have a reference of what we are as a band, um, and make that better,
Hmm.
probably better than what I can do being too close to the project. Um, so I'm sending that to an engineer to mix. I'll probably do the mastering myself. Um, but if not, we'll figure that out when that comes.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad we got some more stuff to look forward to, maybe early next year.
Well, I'm thinking mid-November to put the
Really?
first
Okay.
single of the second EP out. Mid-November, second single probably for Christmas or something like that. Something to derange everyone from the jingle bells and the Rudolph and all of that. Bring them back to life and be like, no, put Mariah for a rest. Let Bublé take a sip of wine and listen to us for a minute.
That's all you need, just a couple of minutes, because some of the songs are only 2.5 minutes long. I think
Yeah.
minutes and 17 seconds is as long as you get.
So that's all I'm asking, man. 3 minutes of your time.
That's
Just
right.
give us 3 minutes on and that's it. And then the third single probably for January, sorry, mid-January, and then release the whole second EP probably February.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So a lot of Skull Riot in the coming months. That's cool.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
I got to ask you, with the fact that the bass is, you know, one of 2 lead instruments. Um,
Yeah.
was like I always think, like I've always thought of like Billy Sheehan. I always thought of as a lead guitar player that plays bass. I wonder, was he an influence on you?
I mean, he is. I can't deny he is an amazing bass player. And every time I see he play, I'm just speechless. I'm like, how can a human being do all of that just with 3 fingers on one side. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. But I do try to like take it to that level. Like that's my whole goal, and like to have a Skull Riot song where I can be as technical as he is for a little bit and then bring it back to like some raw stuff and back to punk, but then a little bit of this, you know.
Mhm.
But obviously, like I don't think I can compare myself to him any like
Yeah,
at all. Like he's amazing. He's just a freak of nature, man.
yeah,
And he's done so many good stuff, Mr. Big, and then Winery Dogs, and his own stuff. It's freaking amazing. And but yeah, he is an idol for sure. Someone I look up, and as someone I would hopefully can one day play half as good as he plays.
yeah. I was just so curious because as soon as I heard your EP, he was the first person that popped into my head, as far as what your bass reminded me of, what the
Oh
sound
wow!
was kind of like. Not that you have the exact tone or anything. I don't mean
Right?
that,
No, no, no.
but just the way the bass leads the songs,
Yeah,
just made me kind of think about him. Musically overall, also Motorhead and Lemmy's bass playing came into my
yeah.
head too.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no escape. I was listening to all of that. So, what a great reference to be compared to like, or just mentioned to be around that area of rock, like Lemmy and Motorhead. I love them. And obviously, Lemmy's an inspiration for this band. Huge inspiration, not only as a frontman, but I feel that Motorhead is led by that bass.
Of course,
So
absolutely.
even the sound that he had coming out of a Marshall and stuff like that, that's like this dude is another guitar player. He just is playing with 4 strings.
Mhm. Which it was a question I was going to ask you. On these recordings, it sounded like everything was four string, not any five.
No,
I was going to ask you about that. If being that you're producing the kind of music that you are, does a five string come into play? Or are you determined to keep everything with a four string?
I thought of it heavily because obviously I love the low end, and I love having that. The deeper I can go, the better, right? But at the same time, I've never been able to see rock with a 5 string instrument. Like I've never been able to. Whenever I see someone with a 5 string playing rock, I'm like, that's too metal, too progressive metal for me,
Hmm.
and that's not what I'm going for in this project. So I don't think I'll play a 5 string yet. I don't take it out of the picture, but completely because you never know. Uh, but I don't think I'll play a 5 string in Skull Riot. I
Gotcha.
have one, but I don't think I will.
Unless you end up writing a song that you really feel calls for it, then.
Yeah, yeah. But not. But the thing is that also we are dropped tuned to most of the songs are in D standard, so there's no point like for me to have a 5th string there.
Mm.
Like it would like I can.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point for me to have another string drop down to like what I'm going to drop it to. Like
right,
A flat, like A is too low. That is just going to be muddy, and it
right.
doesn't work.
Right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't work, at
yeah.
least for me.
That makes sense. Well, let's talk a little bit about your background. So I read that you came. I think it was a straight shot from Mexico City to L.A., and
Yeah,
then you ended up getting a master's degree in film scoring.
yeah.
And but I'm not clear on, is that kind of like your day job, so to speak? Is it you still doing a lot of that, or
The
is film scoring? Yeah.
film scoring, not that much actually. I wish that was my intention when I moved here. Um, but I fell into the opportunity of working as a recording engineer more than a composer. or arranger. So I just took that as a chance and an opportunity to learn that profession and learn that aspect of the creative process and music. And I got the support of the owner of the studios, Mauricio Garza, and he started paying me for this, and he became my mentor, and I learned so much from him that I'm still doing that. I'm still working as a recording, mixing, mastering engineer professionally in those studios. So yeah, I wished I could have done more film scoring. I did some short films coming out of like the masters, and I've done a couple of little stuff for other people, like small little videos. But I did stuff for myself. At one point, I thought like, oh, I'll just make music and probably license it and play that game. But also, I was a little bit disappointed that there's too many people and like doing that game, and it's a very small circle of people that controls what goes on into film and TV.
Mhm.
So it was just at that time in my life, it was too much to deal with. I was like, you know what? It seems like this is a path that is laid in front of me, that I'm not bad at all, and that people is requesting me and requesting me, because that was the thing. Like people started to like just request me as an engineer in the studio. So I was like, let's see where this takes me and see what
Sure.
this goes.
And the education you got probably still isn't wasted. If probably still helps you even in creating your own music, right?
Absolutely. No. Yeah. I learned so much from great people at that school. Um, and I use it even to this day. Even when I'm composing for Skull Riot, I go and kind of think through all the music theory that I got, and like, is this the best move? Like I just try to be deliberate now with what I'm doing instead of just doing it per se. Um, and that's thank for the opportunity of having that musical education as well.
Mm-hmm. When you left Mexico City was to go to that school? Is that when you
Yeah,
came to the LA
yeah,
area?
yeah. That was a minute ago actually. But yeah, I decided back then in Mexico at that point in my life, I was playing with like four bands at the same time, and in like a period of 2 months, they all decided to stop playing for one reason or another, and I was betting everything on one of those four bands to like make it, because they
Right.
were all good. They were really good, and they just, destiny or something. It was not meant for me with them. So at that point in my life, I was just like stranded with nothing to look forward, but to start from zero again.
Mhm.
Um, and I was just sick of this. It was too much for me. It was many people, the pressure of like being like, being in a huge city like that. And also, believe it or not, I was sick of the traffic. But I came
Yeah,
here
because
and
it's so
I
different in
realized,
LA.
yeah, I realized, well, I'm not that far from this. Uh, but at least here I can look out my window and see the blue sky and some palm trees. Over there, you look out of the sky and you see another freeway on top of you and just concrete everywhere. And,
Right.
so I was okay. It's not that bad. Let's stop complaining.
It's funny. But that's pretty cool, though. I mean, that you were able to get this education and somehow survive after and stay there and find work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing that the being able to have that master's here taught me, was that there's a different level of musicianship here, and a different level of professionalism, and a different level of quality of music,
Mm,
that sadly there's none in Mexico, or is very, very little. Um, so when I came here, like it actually put me in another situation where I was like, oh, damn, I need to really step up. I really need to step up my game and try to be better and be at the same level of these guys. If not, I'm going to be eaten alive. And I will not be able to make a dime in this town. And thank God I did. And thank God I can say that I live and I pay my bills out of music in a way that was always my goal. And
Right.
a lot of people were like thinking I was never going to make that happen. But here I am, and thanking God and the universe that I was able to somehow survive this concrete jungle. Guns N'
Right.
Roses was right, man.
Yes, they were. Well, I'm glad you've been able to survive, and I'm glad that the journey has brought you to this moment of Skull Riot. Glad you
Yeah,
found a partner to work with.
thank
Um,
you.
and obviously only having one other guy that your band depends on, you got a better shot probably than trying to find five guys that all think the same and want to go in the same direction.
Exactly, exactly. That was another motivation for having it as a duo and keep it as a duo. It was like the least people I can deal with, the better, man. If I can just talk to one guy and be like, "Hey, can you play this day?" Yes, I can. Perfect. That's it. I don't have to be like, "When are you available? When are you available?" Like, nah, I can't this week. Oh, come on, stop.
Yeah, it can be tough, that's for sure. But even just having not only scheduling, but just having the same vision too, can be pretty hard when you got a bunch of people. Not everybody's going to think the same way a lot of times,
Absolutely.
uh, but I'm glad it's working for you. And I just yeah, I got to say again, I love the way this thing sounds.
Mm.
And I can only imagine as you continue, and maybe like right now, it's this first EP. It's pretty raw and everything, which I dig. But also because of the way you're able to, I mean, it sounds like a full band, right? If you don't know that it's two guys, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily think I'm hearing two guys.
Right.
So I can only imagine as you go on and try different things and maybe even add some production to a little bit more than as stripped down as it is. I mean, it's just there's just so much you can do with it because the
Absolutely.
your sound is just it's really cool
I
uh,
appreciate that.
and I don't know how you're doing what you're doing with the bass exactly. I mean, you got to be maneuvering a lot with your feet. I'm thinking it's got to be a lot of things you got to do, but it doesn't sound like you're using any kind of tracks. So I'm
Not
assuming
at all.
coming out of your hands and your feet.
Yep. Yeah, I became a little bit of a tap dancer too.
I bet. I bet. And
Yeah,
that,
no, but that was another thing that was completely deliberate in my mind. I was like, I don't want to play with backing tracks.
mhm,
Not now. The most I can see us play in the near future would be like a click track, and that would be only to sync video to our show.
mhm,
But I wouldn't play with tracks behind. I don't like that approach on rock and
mhm.
on metal and stuff like that. I don't like it. I understand it in other genres, and they sound good with that. Um, I just want to keep it honest and raw, and this is us, you know. And obviously, the quality of the production will go up, hopefully.
Right.
Uh, and that's the whole idea, right? But I want to keep it us. So I would not introduce any other sound that I cannot play live.
Mhm. Makes
That's the
sense.
idea.
Makes sense because, like I said, hearing what I heard, and what hopefully some of you guys already heard with the one song we've played, and you're going to hear another one at the end of this. Um, it sounds like a lot to keep track of already to me as the musician, and
Right.
to me it's an added complication because you've got so much to play, and you got to remember your lyrics, and you got to be able to sing, keep it all that organized in a life's
Right.
got to be a lot of pressure.
Plus, you got to deal with the crowd too. If you're trying to bring that energy in there, because I mean, I was talking about this in another interview with another guy the other day, and he was like, "So how do you do it? Because just two guys on stage. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like the energy is very important. And it's tough because I'm stuck to the microphone on my pedal board and Sam is stuck to his drums. Like
Right.
there's no other guys to do dances or move around the stage and connect with the crowd. Like all eyes are on us. If they're not looking at him, they're looking at me, and there's nowhere else to look at, you know. So
Right.
we better deliver at least energy wise from where we are, which is a lot more difficult to do when you're trying to project an energy without moving from where you are, rather
Absolutely.
than moving around, right? So I was thinking that a lot, playing live this past months. And I think on the album, I'm going to incorporate a little bit more spaces, musical spaces. Because
Smart.
if you notice in this EP, like the vocals are almost from beginning to end,
Yeah.
except for like a little space in the bridge, which I'm doing stuff with my foot. So I'm like
Right.
still stuck there.
Right.
But for the album, I want to keep a little bit more space so I can move around and interact a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense because I think about those kind of things too, you know, when you can't, you know, that's where sometimes a front man is the great thing to have, right? Because they can run around and send out some extra energy. I mean, you can still do it somewhat, but you got a lot to keep track of. So there's a benefit to that. But on the
Yes.
other hand, I think what you just described, you leave yourself a little bit of room and you can still probably pull that off.
Yeah.
So I think
And
that makes sense.
it I always, when I'm in this situation, I'm always inspired by Lemmy again, saying like, well, he didn't move that much. He was
He
also stuck to
didn't.
the mic.
Yeah, he didn't. I get because I saw Motorhead in concert many times, and I guess as I'm thinking about it, yeah, I guess there wasn't a lot of movement on his behalf.
Yeah. He didn't like run on the stage and like, you know, moved a lot. Like he stayed in a general, like next to the mic area all the time, but the music was so engaging and so powerful and so energetic that that's what catches you.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
goes from the instrument out. So I'm relying on that too.
sure. Well, I think you're on the right track here, Jay. I really do.
Thank you.
So before we wrap things up, I'm going to end up having you pick out a song. But before
Sure.
that, if people want to learn more about Skull Riot, where do they go? Social media, website? Where do people
Yeah.
go?
Right now, Instagram and YouTube, and you can follow us at Skull Riot Music in both YouTube and Instagram. Even if you want to send it like an email or something, uh, death notes, recipes, whatever you need, it's skullriotmusic@gmail.com. Um, we'll be happy to chat with you guys and connect and follow and keep in touch. And yeah, man, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for choosing Chasing Lights in your podcast the other day. I saw it, I was flipping. I was like, oh my God, this thing. And I was taking screenshots because you put us also with this band that I loved at the very end. And I was like, oh my God, I'm part of like
Yeah,
of this.
do you remember who it was? Because I get
I
asked
have the
so often,
screenshot.
like,
I have the
hey,
screenshot.
what was this band you played on this episode, And I always have to go back because I don't remember. I just know I play everything I like.
Right. But I just remember I was like, I was so happy that I was like, oh man, I'm part of like a 12 songs that includes this band. And I was like, that's so dope. Like I'm part of that, you know? Um,
Buddy.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
And you'll have to let me know. I'm just curious.
But it was the last one in the playlist. I
I'll
was like,
find that
oh,
episode and what I played.
that's so good.
I do have a pile of all the playlists that I end up making for each show, so I'll just have to look through it. All right, so Skull Riot Music, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
Skull Riot Music at gmail.com if somebody wants to drop you a recipe.
Please.
And then I'd like to end this with another tune off of Too Little, Too Late. What do you got a taste for? What do your ears want to hear? What do you think best represents Skull Riot besides Chasing Lights? We know that's a big one. But.
We've been having a lot of traction with Blood and Crows. People like
got the cool video.
Yeah. But also from the EP, I personally love Origami Soul. I really like that one.
Okay. I didn't want to share it. I wanted
you like it, so let's go with Origami.
I'm so glad you picked that one because that's actually, if you didn't pick that, I was going to play it on the next music show, but I thought it would be perfect for this interview, actually.
Awesome.
So I'm really glad you picked that one. So perfect. All right. So everybody, we've been talking to J.Ferron, the American way, with a guy who can't roll his R's, from the band Skull Riot. Check these guys out. The EP is not available in a physical form, right?
No, not yet, sadly.
You can go to your favorite place to download music. I assume you got it everywhere.
Yeah, every streaming platform. Of course, if you want to shoot us an email, we'll send it to you.
There you go. So do that, guys. This is a very unique band, but also if you were into Motorhead, is one of the first things I thought of. If you're into Billy Sheehan, just from a musician standpoint, a player standpoint, if you dig either of those, you're definitely going to dig Skull Riot. If you were into the early 80s, all the old Metal Massacre compilation albums that used to come out long before this man was born, just this just fits right in there. So if you were into any of that stuff, you will love Skull Riot. So thank you, Jay, for coming by.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the space and the opportunity playing our music, man. I really, really, really happy. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. Skull Riot, check it out. This is Origami Soul.
You're in the middle of the road.